Monday, January 4. The Test at the Tree. God created everything by a series of separations with clearly defined boundaries. Light and darkness, waters above and waters below, land and sea, night and day, creatures according to their kind, a day separated from the others, a woman separated from a man, and a tree set apart from the others. Question. Read Genesis chapter 1, verses 4, 6, 7, 14, 18, 21, 24 and 25. Why is it important that clearly defined boundaries are outlined even before the creation of human beings? First of all, Genesis chapter 1, verse 4, "And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness." And verses 6 and 7, "Then God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so." And verse 14, "Then God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years." And verse 18, "And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good." And verse 21, "So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good." And verses 24 and 25, "Then God said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature according to its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth, each according to its kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth according to its kind, cattle according to its kind, and everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good." As well as God forming man, beast and bird from the ground, as we read in verses 7 and 19 of chapter 2, let's read that. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, "And God formed man, and the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being." And verse 19, "Out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that was its name. He also caused beautiful trees with delicious fruit to spring up from the ground," as we read in chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. "And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground the Lord God made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." God also chose a special piece of land in which he planted a garden. We can only try to imagine its beauty. The wonderful gardens we see today surely are a bare reflection of what Eden must have been like. In the middle of this specially planted garden in Eden, separated out from the rest of the world, there were two unique trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Fruit from the second tree was not to be eaten, or there would be severe consequences, as we read in Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. "But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die." Question. Read Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 to 17. What is the idea of separation revealed here in this test of Adam and Eve's obedience to God? Well, beginning at verse 15, "Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die." The division is clear and concrete. Eat from all the other trees, but not from this distinct one, which was separate from the others. There was nothing ambiguous about God's words. Adam and Eve were created as moral beings, and morality cannot exist without freedom. Here was a test to see what they would do with that freedom. As Ellen White writes in Patriarchs and Prophets, page 53, the tree of knowledge had been made a test of their obedience and their love to God. The Lord would have seen fit to lay upon them but one prohibition as to the use of all that was in the garden. But if they should disregard his will in this particular, they would incur the guilt of transgression. And so to finish today, what are some things in your life that you definitely need to separate yourself from?